Hi, I'm Reed. This is Crowland Publishing. Should DMs cheat? Yes, next video. Alright, maybe I need a little bit more explanation. Alright, let me tell you a story. It's 1983 in wrestling. You know, wrestling, like rock and roll wrestling, that sort of wrestling. It's about to go mainstream. It's been this weird carny thing since the beginning of the 20th century. It's about to become a major kind of entertainment. But what it needs to really jump that hurdle is stars that everyone can get behind. Big stars and a big storyline. Something that everyone can really engage with. Enter Hulk Hogan. Now, Hulk Hogan, he'd been the champion for about a year or so, and if you don't know who Hulk Hogan is, I'd be very surprised. But, handsome man, huge, 6'5" or something, chiseled physique, shall we say, enormous charisma, blonde, fantastic blonde mustache, dressed in gold, and he had an undefeated streak, and he was given a trophy for it. However, there was one other man in the WWF, at the time it was called, who had an undefeated streak. Once, he was the beloved hero to children, Andre the Giant, physique from The Princess Bride. Andre was 7'5" tall. He weighed 500 pounds, and he had been undefeated in the WWF as well. He'd been a monstrous force in wrestling for decades. And so he got angry when Hulk Hogan got given a prize because Andre too had an undefeated streak. The sin of hubris bit the big man. And so one day he decimated Hulk Hogan in an act of fury. No one had ever seen Hulk Hogan beaten like this before. Fury, jealousy drove Andre. Hulk was tortured by his friend turning enemy. What was he to do? But Andre's attacks were endless. Hulk had no choice but to challenge him to a fight at the biggest show of all, Wrestlemania, kind of like the grand final, the prom, whatever you want to call it, the Grand Prix of wrestling. And Hulk continued to get the hell beaten out of him by Andre. If he was going to win, he was going to have to do something fantastic. Match begins. Andre is slapping the hell out of Hulk. He can't win. Andre is just too big, but Hulk just rises to the occasion. Power of the fans flow through him. And finally, he rallies. He picks up Andre the Giant. He body slams him. He wins. Wrestling history is made. Wrestling enters the mainstream. It's huge. Everyone loves Hulk Hogan forever, and he never does anything wrong. There's a problem. Almost everything I've told you is a lie. Neither Hulk nor Andre were undefeated. In fact, they've been wrestling together for years, and they've both held wins over the other. Hogan's huge moment of body slamming Andre had been done loads of times before. It was a way to get over, to make yourself known as a popular wrestler. The thing is that body slam's not even a particularly impressive move. It was just the way that the announcers talked about it. Oh my God, Andre is being picked up. And no one cared. No one cares. No one cared about any of those behind-the-scenes facts. What they cared about is the story of the blonde man defeating the evil foreign giant. It is a fantastic story. It changed wrestling forever. And in DM narrative terms, it's cheating. It ignored what really happened to make a better story. And if you're a narrative gamer, and if you're a narrative DM, you should cheat too. But not all the time, not always. Only when you have reason to believe that it will improve the drama of the moment and or the ongoing campaign. Cheating for a player, it's a whole different topic. But cheating for a DM, what is that? Well, it depends, because for starters, as a DM, you already have a kind of unlimited power. You can introduce any elements into the story you like, but the social contract of the game is that you play fair. You keep fights fair. You keep encounters fair. You don't force PCs in unwinnable situations. You don't force them into situations where they can only die. Good cheating in a narrative game is about valorizing the narrative over the rules. When you lie about dice rolls, when you ignore mechanics in favor of instant successes, or even, sometimes, instant fails, despite the fact that that's not the rules and players might have mechanical options available to them, but you have overruled them. If there is a very good reason, you should feel free to do that. Now, I've been a DM for over 30 years, and if you are making a narrative game, my advice is cheat all the time. Cheat whenever it is appropriate, but only for the good of the story. And sometimes if that means no, you're sorry, you don't get a save because you know that if they lose, it will be much more interesting, and you haven't made them lost too much to make them feel ineffective, do it. But learn when. You learn how, and learn how to use a safe, soft touch. Alright, take for example this. You're a first time player, you're super excited, and you're playing a wizard. Oh no, the first fight, a kobold shoots your wizard. Short bow crit, dead. That's fair, right? That's the rules. It's not cheating. But is that a rewarding experience for anyone? No. Another example, and I want you to think about this both as a player and as a DM. Which would you prefer to happen? You are fighting a mighty dragon. You son of a bitch dragon, you shot my parents dead in an alleyway. You have been building this fight for like 7 sessions. It's ready to go down. And then the players roll 2, 4, 3, 2. Look, man, if you play the next dragon round right, you're going to wipe them out. Do you want to wipe them out? Is it going to be fantastic if you wipe them out? Are you going to remember this campaign fondly if you wipe them out? Swashbuckler. She loves being a swashbuckler. That is this player's entire thing, is just she loves the swashbuckle. She loves big dramatic moments. She wants to cut the rope, swing on the chandelier, and then take out the wizard up in the balcony who's been shooting lightning bolts. Alright? Do you make her roll, or do you just let it happen? I would just let it happen unless I thought it was interesting that it would fail. But then again, for her, for that player, she's there to swashbuckle, so I would let her. Which would you, as a player, prefer? Just to be allowed to do the cool thing, or, oh, actually, you've lost at a -3. So, I know what I would do. Now, there is a darker side to cheating. Sometimes, it is useful for players to fail. If they fail, they might get taken to the gladiator pits, which is where you really want the adventure to happen. If they fail, the villain might get away. If they fail, the next part of the adventure path can really come into play. Sometimes you might be tempted to cheat, and sometimes you can. Now here's the thing, is that a lot of people think that player agency is just the most sacred thing in D&D and all RPGs. The ability to make choices unimpeded by the DM. I understand that position. I'm very sympathetic to it, and 9 times out of 10 I agree with it. But sometimes it's just for the best of the campaign to deny them a choice. I'm sorry, but I really, really do think that every now and again you just have to keep things moving for everyone. And if that feels like railroading, well, that's it. But I think that when you cheat, it makes the game more interesting and fun and raises the dramatic stakes. I should actually just interject here. You would be surprised at how often people are happy to die and fail if they die well or interestingly. And even sometimes if the dice just turns against them, well, the story ends for them. You know, they're pretty happy. Oh, no, we died. And then they just disconnect from their character. It's not a judgment on your game or anything. It's just that that's how some people view RPGs. There needs to be a lost state. Now, there's no hard and fast rule on how to cheat as a DM. A lot of it's just experience. You get a feel for it. I know how infuriating that sounds. You'll understand when you're older, but sometimes it's just a matter of experience. On top of all this, groups are different, players are different, even games can be different from session to session. So all I have is a few rules of thumb for when I think it's appropriate to manipulate the narrative, which is a much nicer way of saying cheating. I pay attention to what the players are saying to one another. If they are really invested in winning a fight, then I won't cheat. If it is much more dramatic if players lose, or if it is much more dramatic if players win, I'll generally try and make that result come out. Forcing players to lose, they call it steamrolling. High risk, man. But if you do it occasionally, lightly, if the players trust you, it'll be okay. If you're a player and you feel that you are being steamrolled, sometimes it's okay just to go with it. Sometimes the DM knows best. And secondly, while I do not like killing PCs randomly, because in narrative games people get really into their character, yeah, everyone can die, and you should not cheat if a character has a good, interesting death. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's great when players lose and they feel like they're playing out some kind of interesting, sad drama. So I cheat ultimately only when I think it makes my players' experience richer, better, and stronger. DM enough, DM enough narratively, and like a skilled pickpocket, you will develop that light touch. So yeah, DMs, cheat. Cheat away. No one remembers any other time Hulk beat Andre. Thanks for coming. Why don't you give us a like? Bye bye.